Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu ala Rasulillah. Assalamualaikum alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I don't know if many people know, but for about 4 years I lived in Istanbul and I lived amongst the Turkish people. And Turkish people are amazing people. And they had one habit that I picked up from them. When the Turkish people got upset over something, they used to always say, Allah, 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 Allah. So if something happened on the streets and a car almost hit someone, the person would say, Allah, Allah, is a reminder of them to themselves to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to calm down, but it's also to express their disappointment. And so I came across a video on the internet over this past weekend, and when I saw it, it made me say, Allah, Allah. And it's a video of Benjamin Netanyahu. And, I'm not going to even introduce it. I'm just going to show it to you, and then let's talk afterwards. But here it is. Bismillah.
ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו, ניגפים לפניהם. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה, מכל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם. ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון. וקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם, להילחם לכם עם אויביכם, להושיע אתכם.
Please. Oh, my goodness. What do we say other than Allah, 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 Allah? I mean, oof. Benjamin Netanyahu, the architect of this genocide in Gaza, is now in a synagogue with nice voices. They're singing a prayer, and he's there making a prayer for his troops that he sent to go commit this genocide in Gaza, that they come home safely. These troops that are out there killing men, women, and children. 35,000 people have been murdered so far, 15,000 of them children, set up by this man. 2 million people displaced. 2 million. What's the population of Gaza? 2.1 million. Almost all the homes destroyed. Gaza has become uninhabitable. But what Netanyahu wants to do is whitewash his genocide. And so he's a murderer. He's out there killing. And he wants to make himself seem that he's a man of God. And I have no doubt that he actually believes that he's a man of God. This is the crazy thing about this. And when I saw this video, it made me think about a spiritual disease. Now, he has many. His biggest disease is his kufr, his disbelief. He doesn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But on top of his kufr, he's sending an army to go commit genocide. But what I'm seeing in him now is this concept called ujub. Complete delusion. A complete wrong self-assessment of one's being. He actually believes, I guarantee you, without a doubt, that he is a man of God doing God's will. I thought about this and I said to myself, if Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali, rahmatullahi alayhi, the author of the Ihya Ulumuddin, was alive right now, he would probably include Netanyahu as a case study of spiritual diseases, along with Abu Jahl and many of the men in history who have committed terrible acts. But I've also come to realize that if Sidi Abu Hamid al-Ghazali was alive today, he would probably say, Moutasem, well, what are the lessons that you learn from looking at Netanyahu that you need to protect yourself from falling into in your own life? What are those traps that you should be sure that you don't fall into? And so that's how we have to look at this situation. What do I learn that I can ensure that I can protect myself from? And so this concept of ujub is what I wanted to talk to everyone about today. And the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, he spoke to us about it. And he said in a hadith, thalathun muhlikat. There are 3 traits that will destroy a human being, absolutely annihilate them. And what are they? Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi said, number 1, shuhun muta'. Shuh is like, when someone is stingy or someone wants to be stingy, it's this feeling in the heart that comes up. don't give, don't do this, don't do that. It's the feeling initially that can be followed. So the Prophet ﷺ is warning us, when that feeling comes to the human heart, don't follow it, don't enact, don't act upon it. He said that's number one. And number two, he said, hawa muttaba, which means like a vain desire. You know, sometimes we're all human beings, and random thoughts and ideas come inside our hearts, and they could be not so good, not so healthy thoughts. They come inside the human heart, whether they're pushed into us by the devil or within our own projections. He says that feeling inside, that you actually enact as well, that you follow. Don't follow that. Sometimes you're going to come up with ideas, some thoughts. Just say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I'm not going to do what my mind, my nafs just told me not to do. And number three, he says, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi, i'jabul mar'i bi nafsihi, a person's self-admiration of themselves. You know, we assess ourselves in ways that we really aren't. We think that we are things that we are not. Like I saw these videos over the weekend. It's these crazy videos. You've probably seen them on the internet, where there are these men who storm these MMA gyms and they challenge the owner of the gym to a fight. It's like these crazy videos. So like you'll have a guy who's never trained in fighting ever. He storms into a gym and he wants to fight like the top boxer there. Like this guy is delusional. And you see them get in the ring and they get absolutely shellacked, destroyed. But I guarantee you, they thought for a moment that, hey, I'm going to take this fighter on. That's delusion. And what happens to many of us, we can be delusional. Sometimes we think things that aren't really true. Someone acted towards me in a way that my delusion makes me think that they did for a particular reason. And then I set up this whole home, this whole house of thoughts and ideas and structures that is completely delusional based on something that I misinterpreted. And the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wanted to warn us, and he warned us about that. And so when we look at Netanyahu and his delusion, we have to really take it to ourselves and be like, wait, what am I doing that's delusional? What am I thinking that's delusional? And how do I fix that? So there's three things I wanted just to share about how we can fix this problem. Number one, we need to want to change. Listen, changing spiritually is one of the most difficult things that a human being can do. Why? It's because I have to put a mirror up to myself and be really honest about all the problems that I have. And every one of us wants to think that we're perfect, but we are not. We simply are not. And I always liken this to the example of, if you ever need to lose weight, you have to first admit that I'm out of shape. Like I have to get on the scale and look at my weight and be like, wow, I'm 40 pounds over where I should be. But what many of us do is, we just say, oh, this is me. Let me just go get a bigger pant size and a baggier shirt and everything's okay. We try to hide it. But there comes a point where we can't hide it anymore. And we have to get in shape. Otherwise, we're going to have a heart attack. The same reality is true when it comes to our spiritual health. We have to put a mirror in front of ourselves and realize that we are spiritually out of shape. I may be delusional. And so I need to realize that I need to fix this problem that I have within myself. I need to be honest with myself. That's the hardest part, because once we admit it, then we can take the steps to fix it. Number two, there's a beautiful dua of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. And if there is anyone in all of creation that doesn't need to make this dua, it would have been our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. But to teach you and I, and from his humility, he would make this dua, and he would make this dua often. And it's a dua that we should always repeat every single day of our lives, in which the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi says, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ahu wa arina al-batila batilan warzuqna ijtinabahu. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak alayhi wa ala alihi. Oh Allah, show us truth as truth. Like, give us the ability to see things as they really are, not how I may perceive them to be. Because my perception can be completely wrong. And very often it is. So give me, Allah, the ability to see things as they truly are. And then number two, give me the courage to actually follow it. Because sometimes we may know that we're physically out of shape or spiritually out of shape, and we just accept it. Oh, that's me. No. Give me the courage, ya Allah. Give me the ability to make that change, to do the work. And he sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi says, and show me, let me see falsehood as falsehood. Sometimes we think things are true, that they're the right thing, and they're the completely wrong thing. Our assessment, we're delusional, is completely off. Let me see things that are false as false, and give me the strength, ya Allah, to stay away from it. Because sometimes, again, we do know that things are wrong, but we just can't help ourselves. So we need to make this dua every day of our lives. And number three, we need to find a spiritual mentor. We need to find a sheikh. We need to find someone who's going to be able to guide us to Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi. Look, my son right now, he's 16 years old, and he wants to get his driver's license. So he's not hopping in a car and trying to figure out how to drive every single day on his own. Guess what he's doing? He's sitting down with me and his mother, and we're taking him out every single day, and we're teaching him how to drive. Why? Because we have experience. We've been driving for 30 plus years. We know the do's and the don'ts. So if you want to learn how to drive, you learn from someone who knows how to drive. If you want to learn how to swim, you learn from someone who knows how to swim and can teach you the ins and the outs of swimming. Same goes for our spiritual states. If we want to be able to assess the issues that we have inside ourselves and fix them, we have to go to individuals who have gone down that path. And there is a rich Islamic tradition of men and women of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who Allah has guided to be on this path and have gone through and have studied all of the ailments within their hearts with a qualified teacher and have attempted to remove them. So when you and I go through something, they can tell you, I've been there before, this is what you need to do. And they're out there. And these individuals are those that practice what they preach. Al-awliya, al-ulama, spiritual saintly scholars. And how do you know them? Number one, they're people that actually practice what they preach. And number two, you and I have to have the courage to have their companionship so that we can start to transform. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy, because what they're going to do through the process is tell us about things that we need to improve upon. But we have to get over our delusion. We have to get over our self-assessments and thinking that we're perfect and great, and be ready to take this advice and act upon it so we can get to the other next level. So when we're looking at someone like Benjamin Netanyahu, and we're looking at his delusion, and we're disgusted by it, absolutely, 100%, there's a sign in him for you and I. And that sign is we don't want to be like him at our small level. So if he suffers for delusion, well, maybe it's something that you and I suffer from. And we want to protect our hearts from that. And so we have to start the path of purifying what's inside us.